My name is Bob Waide.
I'm Karl Benedict.
My name is Trilce Estrada.
Hi, I'm Dr. Gil Gonzales.
My name is Dr. Joseph Galewsky.
My name is Louis Scuderi.
My name is Rebecca Koskela.
My name is Scott Ness.
My name is Susan Atlas.
I'm a professor in the biology department and the executive director of the Long-Term Ecological Research Network Office.
My primary job is as the director of the Earth Data Analysis Center and Applied Research Center here at UNM, but I'm also a member of the faculty in the university libraries where I provide support to a number of departments and also help with some of our data activities.
I'm a new assistant professor at the Computer Science Department of UNM, and I work in the High Performance Computing Group.
I'm the Chief Information Officer for Information Technologies here at the University of New Mexico.
I'm an associate professor in the Department of Earth and Planetary Sciences here at the University of New Mexico, and the research group that I run focuses on the links between climate and Earth surface processes.
Professor, Department of Earth and Planetary Sciences at the University of New Mexico. My research group is CREATE, the Center for Rapid Environmental Assessment and Terrain Evaluation.
I'm the executive director for DataONE. DataONE actually is within the Office of the Vice President of Research.
I'm a professor in the Department of Internal Medicine. I'm also director of the Genomics Core Facility, and I'm one of the associate directors of the UNM Cancer Center.
I'm Research Associate Professor of Physics and Astronomy. I'm also director of the Center for Advanced Research Computing, which is the UNM Supercomputer Center, and I'm co-director of the UNM Cancer Center Shared Resource for Genomics and Bioinformatics.
Big data actually has a couple different meanings. The project that I work on deals with two types of big data. Big data can mean either large volumes of data about a single subject in an area, in a repository, or it could mean tens of thousands of individual data sets held scattered all over the place.
Big data in my world not only relates to the amount of data, but it relates to the diversity of data types that you have.
For us, big data really is a large collection of very different types of data and looking at ways to effectively manage and make use of all of those data in new and innovative ways.
There's big data that is taken in from observations, for example, ecological or astronomical observations, or generated in the laboratory. And then there's also the big data that we generate in the course of doing supercomputing calculations.
For me, big data involves big numerical simulations. We run very large climate models, and we produce many, many terabytes of output.
Big data means something that I can't analyze on my desktop computer or my laptop in a real-time time frame.
Big data is about all the technological challenges, including involving data that cannot be tackled using the traditional technology. For example, if data is too long or arrives too fast, or if it is too heterogeneous.
Big data to me means data sets that are global in extent and which provide us information on how change is taking place in our environment right now.
Big data is the need for researchers to not only store, retain, tag, but also move large data sets around, in this case around the world, in order to best collaborate and create new knowledge.
I work on optimization of resources for big distributed systems. For example, I use cloud computing and I use volunteer computing. And I try to optimize the use of resources so that researchers, scientists can use the paradigms in order to advance their scientific problems.
We are looking at global deserts and sand seas, and we're using Landsat imagery and MODIS imagery, which is again multi-terabyte sized databases and larger, to actually analyze environmental changes within deserts and on desert margins.
We're working on several different projects. The one that may be most relevant for big data is that we're trying to study tropical cyclones or hurricanes and how they vary with climate change. And so we're actually looking into the Earth's geological past, looking at how hurricanes may have behaved during the last ice age and during a period about 6,000 years ago called the mid-Holocene.
I work with UNM Cancer Center on the analysis of very large-scale genomic data sets, whether through next-generation sequencing or microarray analysis, or RNA-seq, which is also a form of gene expression analysis. And I do pattern recognition and machine learning on those data sets.
I'm working on projects that try to understand how genes are regulated differently in leukemias and tumors compared to normal cells, so that we can convert those hopefully into better kinds of therapies.
Right now, I personally spend a lot of time working on the underlying architecture for how we manage and organize all of these different types of data and how we maximize their accessibility and usability by a wide variety of end users.
Well, the first thing is we're trying to understand not only the implications for large data set mobility here at UNM, but also we see it as a demonstration that's going to help us understand how to rebuild the rest of the campus network.
Our network has 26 sites, and we do engage in a wide variety of different kinds of research activities on very different ecosystems that range from Antarctica to the Arctic to Pacific to Caribbean islands.
Our mission is to build a network, a federated network of repositories linking together environmental data.
It's important because we really are in the data age where what was being produced in paper documents a century ago is really being produced as digital data and information right now. And unless we're very intentional about how we produce and manage and store and make accessible those data, they can be lost or not understood to the point where all the investment that is made in producing them is wasted if we don't successfully carry those data forward and make them usable.
UNM is an active participant not only in securing services to national network providers, but also regional services. We want to make sure that our faculty has the access to other institutions, other facilities around the country. UNM is well positioned to do that through its participation in Internet 2, National Lambda Rail, and other regional networks.
It includes an interdisciplinary aspect where I solve problems for areas in astrophysics, biochemistry, and neuroimaging.
The work with the Cancer Center has direct impact potentially on patient care and also tailoring chemotherapeutic regimens to newly diagnosed patients.
Research that will help identify or develop better therapies for cancer patients is our goal here, and we hopefully will be able to develop some kind of personalized medicine for cancer patients.
All the research we're doing is important for energy issues, for global change issues, and again, from the big data perspective, a lot of the questions that we are able to ask and answer with big data weren't even possible to be asked even a decade ago.
Scientists have looked a lot at how tropical cyclones or hurricanes might change under a future warmer climate, but we want to expand the field of our understanding of tropical cyclones and climate. So we're looking into the past to see how hurricanes may have been different 20,000 years ago.
Because these are key ecosystems throughout the country, and because they're key ecosystems, we need to find out how they're changing over time, what the dynamic of the systems are, so we can understand how the ecosystem services they provide also might change.
The way it fits in big data to knowledge is to make discovery of data sets accessible to all scientists.
Big data knowledge is converting these very large amounts, like hundreds of terabytes of data, into something that's digestible by a person. We do that using bioinformatics and statistics tools, which takes a lot of time to run on the computer, so that's how we convert our big data into usable knowledge.
So we need to take into account the problem itself, the science, combine that with the system, and then produce meaningful results for them. And for that, we develop intelligent algorithms that take into account the workload and the problem itself, and try to produce knowledge in this case.
To do the type of work that we are attempting to do requires our ability to look at large quantities of data and then pull out from that data where change is actually taking place.
these simulations are producing many, many terabytes of data. These are some of the most ambitious numerical simulations I've ever run, and require a lot of data management and some very complex data interpretation.
We need the kinds of storage that we can get from big data facilities. We need the kind of computing facility we can get in order to run simulation models. And we need tools like visualization and data analysis, which are only available through these kinds of facilities. The technological challenges range from the fact that data are collected in many different formats and by many different people, and have to be homogenized in some way into common data sets across the whole country.
Trying to integrate this very diverse set of data into a combination of databases and files that you're storing in a file system, and then developing the overlying technologies for making it as easy as possible to actually discover and make use of those data.
To make sure that there is sufficient metadata stored along with the data so that someone other than the original investigator can use that data.
Smart systems to actually access the data rapidly and to be able to, again, sort out the gems from, the background noise.
The technological challenges involved in transforming big data into knowledge involve the underlying infrastructure as well as developing the new algorithms and strategies for actually doing the analysis.
Some of the biggest challenges we have with big data are the size of the data. The data is so big we can't transfer it over the network normally. So we have to use SneakerNet, which is somebody carrying around a hard drive, or we have to come up with better alternatives for that.
There are really three different components that are required in order to transform big data into knowledge, and I would say that those are the network and the storage system, and then finally the supercomputers. And all three have to be brought to bear in order to accomplish our scientific goals.
I use clusters of computers, and I use also volunteer computing. That is a paradigm where normal people donate their computers to perform scientific simulations.
We use a variety of different database technologies. We're using traditional relational databases for storing a lot of our documentation, our metadata about the data sets that we're managing.
We use a variety of tools, mostly things like MATLAB and other computational tools.
Image processing, geographic information systems, and a slew of computer application technologies for extracting information from large databases.
We use a lot of bioinformatics tools and biostatistics.
We use both the inventiveness of the human mind and creativity of our scientists, but we also use data analytical tools and visualization tools that are accessible through facilities like CARC.
UNM and CARC have really provided some key institutional capabilities, whether it's the network connectivity from the university or the infrastructure for housing our shared enterprise storage systems at CARC. As we look forward, we're eagerly anticipating being able to take more advantage of the computational resources that CARC has in close proximity to the storage that we already are using within the facility there.
Well, we've got a great support group here. We're really happy that we have a place to live, number one, and number two, that we've got people here who I can go and talk to, and when I have questions, they're working on similar type projects, so I get really good answers from them.
UNM has given us a home for the last 16 years and provided us with resources like CARC, which allow us to analyze and use big data in the way that we have, and to generate simulation models which help us create scenarios of the future.
It's really wonderful to have the computational resources that we have available here, because we have access to very large supercomputers around the country that are often oversubscribed. So here at UNM, we can use the computing resources to run lots of smaller scale jobs that gives us a leg up when we go to run on the larger supercomputers.
So one of the things that we've done with CARC is CARC and DataONE are two of the collaborators in the Research Storage Consortium, and this is a very innovative project for UNM to have different research teams come together and use their equipment budget together to come up with a sufficient size storage that we all are able to use. And CARC is the one that actually administrates this storage, so it's a really good collaboration.
UNMIT and CARC have helped us by putting in a high-speed fiber optic cable link between our sequencing center and the supercomputing center over at CARC, and that allows us to do things more in real time.
Right now I'm using the CARC resources, and UNM of course is providing me with time and support to carry on my research. But besides being a researcher, I'm also a teacher, and I'm teaching a course in big data. And so my students are using the CARC resources for their own projects also.
We're collecting much more data than we ever did before, which means that storage is a huge problem for us. And analysis of large data sets is a huge problem for us. So here's where the partnership with CARC is a very important thing for us, because for one thing, the storage, they have the storage, and we can access that storage, but they also have different ways of helping us understand how to analyze these large data sets.
The IT engineering staff is prepared and ready to put in new networks to support our institution. Oftentimes the challenge is getting the strong collaborators who are willing to take their vision forward and share it with us and help the institution move forward.
Well, that's where the application side of things comes in, because it's one thing to effectively manage data. It's another to translate those data into the information that decision makers need to use to inform the development of policy or decisions about how they're going to move forward with particular activities. Educators who are training the next generation of researchers and citizens.
We publish in journals and conferences, but also I try to include part of my research in my classes so that my students get exposed to the new technologies that we are developing here at UNM.
Our work ultimately gets published in the peer-reviewed literature, and especially with this tropical cyclone research, we're hoping that it will inform our understanding of how tropical cyclones may change as a result of global warming in the future, so it may actually directly impact policymakers.
We have a wide range of activities that we undergo in terms of outreach to the public, including web pages, social media, annual reports, and as well as a standard way that scientists communicate information through publications and presentations at scientific conferences.
So we actually have a lot of different programs. We have a web portal that we advertise widely. We have Twitter. We use all the social medias to advertise our presence. But we also are working with educators, K through 12. And another big group that we work with are citizen scientists.
We actually provide our data to the public for free, also to state, federal, and local agencies, and we publish all this data in international journals.
Through conferences, through the mentoring of the next generation of students, through outreach to the community, through giving lectures and seminars. And of course the data itself is actually posted on public repositories, and that's actually extremely important because we want to have open science and open sharing of data.
We develop a wide variety of largely now web-based applications that translate the data that we're managing within our systems into products, interfaces, and tools that can feed into whether it's policy making and decision making, the education of our next generation of researchers, or even businesses that are wanting to tap into the economic, socioeconomic data, environmental data, all of which are stored within the systems and managed using the tools that I've described.
We do outreach to decision makers, to people who make policy, by going to Washington and presenting briefings to them and talking to them in their offices, so that they have the best up-to-date knowledge of the science that we're doing.
Our goal is to develop better cancer therapies, so if we can do that, we should be able to help cancer patients. And hopefully this will all get published so that everyone can read about it.
We're very pleased that CARC and the Cancer Center came to us with their business need and research need in order to build new capacity that we hadn't delivered anywhere else. We want to learn from this experience, make sure we're doing it correctly, and as we go forward, extend the same capacities throughout the university to the academic units that need this kind of specialized research networking. this is the first leg of a long-term relationship with our research colleagues to build a research network that makes sense for the university.